sky. We are heroes tonight. Town to town, from London to Taiwan, I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.
Close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. See the horizon turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways,
All right, guys, welcome back to the stream. Thank you for your patience. So we weren't able to bring you game number 3 of our PUBG evening, but we have got game 4 up and ready. Now, you may have thought in the last game there wasn't enough memes in the cast, and that's why we have brought in our emergency memester, Gems himself, joining myself and Novi. Gems, how are you feeling?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I know you say I'm a meme machine, but we're going to have to dial it down. It has been enough. I mean, the game itself so far has been pretty memey, so it's going to be a bit rough. But anyway, I'm having a great time watching the first 2 games. It's a bit of a shame about the third match. However, we did get some of the results in, I believe, and it is looking very close for a couple of these teams on the scoreboard. Novi, if you want to dissect that third game for me.
Yeah, definitely. The surprising win. I'm not surprised, but other people were with the finishes beforehand. My boys, the Chicken Giblets from Salford University, finished first. All 4 players making their way to the final, 2 teams left, finishing with 12 kills. So they have moved up into 3rd position, biting at the heels of Birmingham, University of Birmingham Potatoes and Kiel's Neil's Fan Club. So Kiel's Bad Man still holding the number 1 spot, but with about 150 point gap. The also important thing to see is with that we had a tied, I think it was tied record. No, it was smashed. It was 19 kills by DMU's team in their round. And they finished 4th, so that's a huge amount of points going their way in the last game 3. So we've seen a bit of a shake-up, but the main teams, Neil's Fan Club, the Kiel team, is still staying strong in that 1st position.
Yeah, what's going to be very interesting to see is people spotting other teams' patterns on where they're dropping right now, because we've had a couple of games now. Teams are going to be feeling out exactly where players like to drop, seeing where the dead spots are, places they can try and fight over potentially as well. I believe in the first game, things like North George was right on the flight path, was empty. Military base was an easy flyover to, was also empty. And that's going to really spice us up in this final round, because you're going to end up people predicting and trying to fight over spots they think is going to be best for them.
We have had a couple of teams drop out, I think, towards the bottom of the table, so we'll try and get some confirmation on that. But yes, just to kind of finish off what we're saying about the so Neil's Fan Club placed 2nd in the first game, 5th in the second game, and 3rd in game number 3. A very, very consistent performance from them has led them up to this point. The Potatoes, who are UOB Potatoes from Birmingham, who placed 4th and then 1st in the game 2 on stream, did not have such a great time of game number 3, placing 13th. So we'll need to see them step up if they want to compete with the extremely consistent Neil side, who prove you don't need to win each of these games, you just need to perform solidly.
Oh, and looking at this flight path that's coming in straight down the middle, which means we're going to get a nice spread here. All the teams are going to potentially get wherever they want on the map. Nice loads of vehicle locations for them to go grab cars. They can go all the way to Milter Power, will be nice spots for them to drive over to. Yasnaya will be perfect as well for those wanting a bit of a longer flight, or maybe even potentially trying to rush for a car. We're seeing one team, I think, only wait, is there a single team? No, 3 teams going military base this time. So we're going to potentially see an early game firefight coming out there.
Might finally see that early game conflict that I wanted to see. Few less teams this time, so starting with only 22 teams. The 3 teams have dropped out, and I think one team is playing with less players. Not sure, I have to double check. Interesting, I want to see is the Warwick team, where they're going to go this time, because they seem to have an interesting tactic. I think they're spreading around the northwest side of the map, fairly near the Chicken Giblets, but that zone is a fairly friendly zone to everyone apart from the people at military base.
Yeah, the military base people are going to have to fight their way out there. It's going to be very rough. Unless they can all somehow manage to sneak a car away, they're undoubtedly going to have to, when they get to that road section, there's going to be a lot of conflicts, a lot of fighting. It's going to be who can grab the weapons as quickly as possible. Try and get those nice spots on the building around the military base. Try pick off a few people.
and it's a bit of a 50-50 as well, whether which side they take. Do they take the west road or do they take the east road? The west road is safer, but they don't know that. If they go down the east road, they'll straight hit that Team 25, the Devil's Rejects, was it, who are holding that angle and will be holding fairly close to the zone as well, which might cause some issues for any of the teams leaving military base.
Yeah, Team 14, I believe, has managed to take all the apartments around the military base. So they've got that nice overhead view of the whole complex, which is probably one of the best spots to grab, especially if you want to go for fights. You have a lot of cover, and you get a lot of coverage in the area for spotting other teams. And on top of that, it's a very lovely loot spot.
Yeah, I have to agree on that. Observing Chicken Dylan run around, they did go for military. Their team has, I think, been kind of split up because I saw Swifty, who's also on the team, further up on the mainland, Team 13, sitting there just already in the zone. So I don't kind of know, but he's been shot down. This is the meme team, but the captain of the Chicken Dylan Nuggets will be taken down. And I think we've had 5 casualties so far. One team already eliminated as well. I've just noticed they're not just split up, they're hugely split up. Cran GT is in the north, sort of eastern, slightly north of the side of the zone, and then you've got the other player on the northwest side, but we're seeing a bit of drowning going on. I'm not entirely. This is near Venice Waterworld, Sunken City. Goes by many names. So a bit of conflict there. And we're down to... This is probably the most kills we've seen in the early part of the game so far this tournament.
Yeah, I think it's due to the circle that we had. A lot of prime locations were up for grab. Again, it's people not being able to get a strong read on where people like to drop. First couple of games wasn't enough of a sort of data analysis for them to figure out where the teams are liking to go. It feels like a lot of teams are just deciding on the whim rather than sticking to sort of the same places they like to drop. A lot of teams have sort of bots they choose, so you'll see a lot of teams go straight to the Pofka every single time they can. Maybe you'll have teams that always drop in Milta or try to get as close as they can to Milta and maybe have a second backup drop location if they don't get it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I want to have a look at Wolverine because we've seen Team 25 Devils Rejects, the way they're going. As you said, they seem to go towards these specific locations they like. But he's been very fortunate, and I think, if I'm correct, he's on a loot spot. So I'm curious as to see down in that southeast. Is that a can't remember the name of that sniper rifle? It's not an M24. It's like the MK1 something. The semi-automatic sniper. Not probably the worst sniper you could pick up from crate, but probably more value than an MT49. So he's got an AK and he's running that loot box sniper rifle. I'll double check the name because it's bugging me. I can't remember it.
Yeah, the first circle I believe is going to hit shortly. They still have about a minute. It's going to be interesting to see when players try to get to these nice defensive locations. A lot of teams will be edging and grabbing the cars, potentially edging around the circle, and a lot of others will be trying to get to the center. Especially if it's landing around Rojok, that's going to be very important to get there as soon as possible. Team 6, I believe, is Bath Boys. They're in a prime spot there. They've got a nice location, already have coverage of the buildings, so they can set that up and look to just hold that spot for the foreseeable future. Unless we see a horrible circle go up to Saverny, then it's going to be a bit rough for them.
For sure. There's also, I want to note the other loot drop by Storber. Too far away for any place to go there. Cran GT is near there from the Chicken Dylan's Nuggets. The captain already falling down. But he might be able to go for that loot box, loot crate if he sees it. But he's in Yasnaya Polyana on his own. Looting away. Little loot goblin over there. Sorry, go ahead.
What I am loving is the multiple vehicles coming out from Warwick. They have nearly every one of them have their own car. If they keep using that strategy up into the later stages of the game, I feel like if they can get those vehicles into an open field, or be able to consistently use them later on, they're going to be in a very, very good spot, especially with first-person servers. One of the best strats is to have these sort of lines of cars, and you can set up your own mini forts with them as a spot of defense.
Yeah, we've seen that in pro play in ESL. See if any of these teams clock on and do utilize that strategy. Pachinki was unanswered, and Team 8, the Salford Stimmers, have been able to get their hands into Pachinki uncontested. Just Team 19 to the west, so they shouldn't be bothered too badly unless Team 19 do want to be an aggressive push. We're seeing we've seen this quite a lot where the teams go quite wide out, but they take their time to get into that first circle. What's the reasonings behind that thought process? Surely isn't it better to get in? You can hold up a defensive position.
I think you kind of want to see where the second circle was going to be. So what you want to do? Ooh, we're seeing some fights at apartments here between teams 6 and 16. DMU versus Bath Boys here.
Plox holding the angle, AK-47 in hand, red dot sight as well equipped. Checking the angle. Lack 4 is still alive. So hasn't gone down yet, but he is bleeding out fast. We'll see if Plox will try and finish him off. They're kind of cornered, but they do have a suitable angle. Plox spraying down with the SKS.
Yeah, this is one of the first fights happening for sort of grabbing these prime locations. Apartments, very nice to be able to hold. You have the rooftop, nice coverage, and I think both teams don't really want to concede either their spots right now. They want to keep holding it, but again, their locations have also been given away, so that's going to be a bit rough later on when you don't have many exits from the buildings. I mean, you're going to have to jump out the windows, but where'd you run to after that? It's a pretty open area, and that's always going to be a bit of a problem for these teams.
Definitely true. Seeing around this player, Jibby is approaching in the vehicle, but might steer clear of apartments, assuming that there's going to be someone at school or there in that position. Team 6 is fairly spread out, though. The Maneski is over to the northwest of the rest of his team. Team 6
like that
is together.
I do like that strat sometimes. I feel like if you know you're not going to be able to contest prime locations, you can all split up, take small locations where it will be relatively safe, small little buildings, small little complexes, and then just all grab a vehicle and meet up and avoid the conflict for the first circle, and then everyone try and grab a location at the same time.
I'm seeing Warwick. I think that's Warwick making their way downtown, back into the zone, avoiding the blue zone, tickling their behind as they drive in. As you said, with the multiple vehicles, jumbly wobbles.
Yeah, it is, and we're getting to that point where the second circle will be appearing shortly. This is the sort of, I think the second and third are the most defining ones, because we've got this river right down, pretty much bang in the middle of this circle. And if a majority of the map ends up on like the north side of the river, a lot of these teams have to cross it. And even with vehicles, it's very rough. You can get shot up quite easily by teams who've taken a position just above the hills and the tree lines. And if it's on the lower half, again, the teams who've now taken a bit more of a risk sitting on the top half have to do that journey back down. And it's one of the more RNG spots when it's like in this middle section of the circle.
Yeah, I have to agree on that. And as you're saying about the RNG nature, one of the and the most important time in the game is between the second zone and the third zone. We spoke to one of the players in between, and he said third zone just comes in so quick. Like as soon as you get in, then it just moves again. So we're coming up to that point in the game. Teams spread out quite wide. Zone is more sort of southeasterly, or was it southwesterly?
That's actually going to be pretty good for a lot of the teams. The guys coming up from military base, they have still a lot of zone to work with. They can potentially even grab a couple of these complexes. We're seeing Team 11 going for, I believe, the side of Roshock, the top of the hill, which is a nice little spot to hold. They're all with their own vehicles, which I do love. They're going to be able to just set that up, have entry and exit plans if they do need to move from there. And they got first dibs.
First dibs. Always the best. You always want dibs first. Or shotgun. Depends where you're from. People say different things. Certain players have a couple players been down. Fatal Slug? I think that's Fatal Slug from Team 16. Is down, bleeding out at the time. See if his team can pick him back up.
Mr. Maneki on his own here in Roshock. The rest of his team are at apartments. He's going to have to sneak out of this. Team 7, Newcastle, Can't Muffin. Can't Muffin is coming in all together. They don't have vehicles, though. So they're going to have to be a little bit careful here when trying to get across the open fields or outside of Roshock. Because Roshock, while itself is a nice spot, there isn't much cover the second you try to go towards school or to any of the other complexes. It's pretty much open field, maybe a couple of trees and rocks, and that's very rough without cars.
Definitely is. One of the things which worried me as a Salford student is our first place team currently, who's sitting third in the rankings, very far out in the northwest, Team 22, very far away. Hopefully they've got a vehicle to be able to get back up. It's some of the times in these highly contested loot spawns, there isn't actually many vehicles. So you could spend the extra time to loot, but if another team's there and they've taken the vehicles, you can get screwed over by the zone fairly easily.
There's a fight happening between Team 24 and 14 right now, just at the edge of the circle. It looks like Team 14 has been wiped out completely, and all of Team 24, which is the Birmingham team, BT, Bit, LE, have got a nice team wipe right there for themselves and managed to secure the edge of that circle.
Yeah, very nice by Team 24, Birmingham lot. Wolverine by another loot crate. He's farming up. He's a loot goblin himself.
I wonder what have the drops been like for them right now. So what have they managed to grab out of these loot crates?
He originally had the EBR, but I'm not sure what he picked out of this one.
It'd be nice to see if any of them can get some of the sniper rifles out of there. In squads, snipers aren't as strong, but however, the ones in the crate, you can't resist. You can't not resist and take them. You just grab them every time. They're so much fun to use, and if you can just get a few knockdowns, that's all you need it for.
And I was saying I was worried about the Salford lot, Team 22, and they're going dangerously low in the northwest, where they are running on foot because they don't have a vehicle to actually get into the zone. It's one of the most important reasons why you want to find a vehicle so early on, not only for fortifications later on into the game, just for moving across the map. It's significantly faster to drive than it is to walk.
You're much harder to hit, and especially if you're spread out across multiple vehicles, you don't have that danger of all of you getting blown up. And you can see that happening. Some teams trying to drive into the apartments are able to get in there. Team 23, Sunderland, because they're using the vehicles, they're able to approach these buildings very well. However, they are getting shut up pretty badly.
For sure, we're seeing a lot of conflict in the center. Around these apartments again, they're still going at it, still plucking away at each other. Aplox, who took down, it was Team 16 originally, so Team 16, who's taken some severe casualties, appears to have backed off somewhere else on the map.
Still 68 alive, and this circle is going to be killer. There's a lot of open field in that circle.
Team 22 still isn't inside the current blue zone.
Yeah, they're going to be taking quite a bit of damage. As I was trying to say, look at this Yasnaya sort of edge of school apartments. People are really going to want these buildings, and nearly all of them are empty right now, especially the ones near the field. You don't want to be in the field. You want to get one of these little locations, these little houses, and set up there. Whoever can get there first is going to have a significant advantage against those who, especially a lot of these guys don't have vehicles right now, and that's always going to be the worst for them.
Yeah, not being on foot is really unfortunate, especially into these later stages of the game. You'd think with smaller zones it'd be fine, but it's often the ground you have to cover, which is the hardest thing for these players to actually overcome if you don't have the vehicle.
there's only a small section of tree line. The rest of it is mainly open land and a couple of hills. So the main section of tree lines about at sort of the river crossing in between Yasnaya and Rajok. That's the main sort of tree cover area you can grab. The rest of that is just open land. So there's the area towards the east, all fields and a couple of houses, and that's it.
Yeah, seeing these teams run into the zone. We said this zone will be killer, but to be honest, until we see the next zone, it could be even worse. We're seeing a bit of a firefight between Team 10 and Team 21 on the edge right there.
Yeah, it looks like Team 21 potentially have the advantage already getting one of the guys knocked down. But the apartments is where we need to really be keeping an eye out here. There's going to be crossfire going from all different directions as all these teams converge in this southwest corner of the circle. And that is going to be a big kill zone.
Is definitely the case. Players moving in, trying to scramble for position. We're seeing this Team 1 and Team 24 getting dangerously close to each other. They don't see each other yet because of the hill, but they're peeking over Arctic's Avian, looking out over that angle. But he may get caught out if they don't see each other first, but Warwick get into the zone first. So they have defensive positions they can set up fairly quickly. Team 24. Is that Bitley team, I think? Team Bitley. They're going to be struggling in this position, having to enter into it. But they've rotated quite far around the hill, sort of fearing that someone might be around. They should be okay, depending on the cover.
Yeah, it's going to be the problem as I was mentioning earlier with the cover, the ground cover they have to do, especially on foot. They don't have access to these vehicles, and it's going to be very, very rough for all three. I reckon they're going to all potentially get out at either the next minute or two or the next circle, because it's going to be in the same direction for them most likely.
Blue zone is advancing at this point.
Players are dropping everywhere right now. You can just see them down 63. A couple of guys dying. Keeps going down.
Knocked out and have taken down very, very quickly. Team 19 in a bit of an unfortunate position, cornered off by Warwick. The Warwick Wolves are howling. They're circling their prey. One member of Team 19 is left. They can see the gun. Dude, you're in range. He's getting fired down, and he will get taken down. Very nice sight by Jumbly Wobbles.
This next circle, though, I feel sorry for a lot of these teams around the south. None of them have vehicles, and they have to cross by the apartments with no vehicle access. And those guys in the apartments, if they time it right, if they leave a little bit late, they can get a lot of free shots onto everyone else in the south side. So Team 1, 13, 8, and even potentially Team 9, depending on the route they take, they can potentially get some shots.
Oh, Enigma with a cheeky little takedown onto Wolverine, who will be downed. Wolverine having 2 loot crates as well, not being able to get anything from it. Enigma is caught out in the open, but down's a second. Team 25 taking substantial casualties, but Enigma will eventually go down, and that'll be the Lancaster Bombers. I think their team out. Cisco Pride picking up his teammate. Also, so I mentioned Team 22 not getting in. They're still not in the zone. Oh, no, sorry. They're just in the zone now. So they've spent the last 15 minutes in blue zone, which is not the funnest experience in PUBG. Got to hand it to Blue Hole.
And it also looks like Team 24, which is the Birmingham lot. They're in a nice firefight here with Team 8, the Salford Stimmers, and it looks like Team 8 have the advantage here because they're on the circle side. However, they can't risk just running off because Team 11 and 5, I believe, are still shooting at them from long range.
Not a Katsubaki will be down from Team 8, the Salford Stimmers.
This is where the lack of vehicles is going to kill a lot of these guys on the south side. A lot of them are tanking this blue zone already, and they're going to have to start running for their lives.
That's the blue zone advancing. Team 24 trying to scarper in their UAS. Should just be able to make it, having to leave some players behind as well.
Yeah, the problem is, where do they go? They're already really late into the circle. They're going to have to try and heal up and maybe just hope the next zone lands right near them.
And one of the things you see in pro play is when it gets to this point, if a player is downed and you're not next to that player, they leave them dead. Because it is too risky to try and get out of your own zone of cover to go and pick up a different player. We should see teams dropping like flies. Team 25 go up in the open. And that should be them down. Taken out by Epoch. Pock. Nicely done. But Team 22 just got wiped.
NA can't play PUBG. If they play this right, Team 12 can go across the north side of this. They're going to be in a very good spot for the last couple of fights if they can get there. I believe it's mainly tree line behind the gas station. So if they can get that, they're going to be a very, very happy spot. But I believe there's is that a Team 13 guy just hiding right next to them? Yeah, it is. Cran. He's hiding literally next to the whole of Team 12. They haven't spotted him at all. They haven't checked the building.
Move around blank, the perfect position to do that. They don't expect to play behind because they felt like they were checking it, sneaking around, and 416 in hand with the extended mags of 40 rounds in the clip. I don't think he sees a player going prone slightly too early, I'd say, with only 10 seconds left in the zone, so he has to push up anyway. See if he can make anything happen. 5 seconds left until the zone will start moving. He should just be able to see players. I think he knows where they are, which is why he's playing.
They are dropping like crazy again. Look at these crossfire happening. Oh, wow, a whole team wiped. Team 7 still taking that apartment complex right there with brute force, it looks like.
And the zone is not being forgiven today. Taking out lots of teams. Like if the zone could compete as its own team
as well, right there. Veneski just dying right there. As the circle comes in, Team 7 are in a nice spot. And that is everyone just dying. Team 13, I believe, what was his name? The one that was sneaking around. He does get picked off as well. Isn't able to sneak up behind Team 12. And this next circle's right. I believe that's just straight line.
And now we have 7 teams left in this position. Kirkmania, highlight player from game 2, I think it was, getting chunked, taking a lot of damage, retreats into the water. The EBR in hand, trying to make that work from some distance. Team 10 is on the edge. Jay Normal Child as well, firing back at that looks like the Warwick team. Team 1. Firing through the trees, one will get downed, but that was by Iron instead.
Hopefully Team 11 have managed to keep their vehicles near them. They don't have to go into the blue to grab them. I believe they got there with cars because they're going to need it. They can't just ride, go by foot to this next circle. They're going to need to set up a little mini base because it is rough. There's not many spots for people to cover. It's going to be interesting to see if any can set up these little forts I've been mentioning, because I think that is going to be crucial for their survival.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Kirkmania trying to pick off enemies. Team 12 on that hillside. One player already downed. Will try and be picked up, but he's getting chunked again. He's going to retreat into the water. Rinse and repeat the strat. Come out back into a place of cover. Go prone.
It's Big CC has got some great spot on Team 7 right now. He's taking some shots. He is also taking a lot of damage as this blue circle comes in. He's nearly down.
5 teams will be remaining at this point. Getting very tense. 13 players alive. Only one team with all 4 members left. That's Team 11. With that Gibby and the original G in their team.
They also have one of the best spots if they can get it. If they can wipe out Team 10, which they do, they now have prime position on the circle. The other teams aren't even in it yet. They're going to have to push through dangerous territory right now to even be able to get a good spot. And Team 11, I think they are the prime team right now to take it.
Team 11, which is 1 vs 3 C9, coming in strong at this point. The original G.
Yeah, you can see Masseroni. He's managed to get in a couple of shots on Throne and a few others here on Team 7. Yeah, Macy Jam's taking a couple of hits. Aaron's taken a couple of hits. All
There
the
he
way.
is, down and taken out as well. Executed by Gibby of Team 11. Sorry
Yeah,
if I'm pronouncing that wrong.
yeah. I think I butchered probably about 100 names, to be honest, all 100 at this point.
So Iron, the only one left for Team 7 on his own, prone in the corner, but Zone is coming in. He has to move. Team 17 also moving as well at the same time.
Yeah, the problem is his position is completely no near to Team 11. He has to try and run. It doesn't look like he has all 4 guys trying to shoot him. He's trying to duck and weave, and he is out. And only 2 teams left. So we have the 1 versus 3 C9 Warwick and Neil's fan club. They're both in contention here as well. They're very high up in their placement.
But it is a 2 versus 4 in this position. And one player already gets taken down and he will get executed. Screaming Radish is on his own, and that'll be Team 11 with all 4 players remaining taking that game. Game 4. So this should really shake up. I think Niels will still end up at the top of the scoreboard going into that game, but it might come down to the final map.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very close. These kills also, we're just looking at, can give a lot of a swing. So first place have huge number of kills, and that is going to help them into the next rounds way more, along with their first place finish that they've managed to grab, and that's actually really helpful for them.
All right, guys, we will be having a small break before we head to game number 5 to put a little bit more stream delay in. So we'll BRB. Thank you, Novi and Gems. We should be back fairly shortly with the 5th game, as well as getting all the stats and things updated for you. So, BRB.